Why do they always got to do that? Why does an easy closeout victory have to lead to drama and some bailout calls in the final few seconds? Why? But Aday Mara is a boss, and UCLA deserved the win more. So that's why.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for your support. It's your team every day. And boy, oh boy, do we have one to react to. I could have had 30 different headlines for this one. Did I think this UCLA game against Northwestern would end up 73-69? No. What was I thinking when Bilodeau left the game in foul trouble and Northwestern was talking trash like we got this in the bag? I think we're all thinking the same thing, UCLA fans. Aday Mara is coming in the game and you're about to lose, Northwestern. Okay. And then with 2 minutes left, UCLA's dominating. Bilodeau comes back in, leads to a strong stretch. And you're like, there's too little time and there's too big of a lead for UCLA to blow this, right? Right? Wrong. They did their best and needed not one, but two bailout calls. There's the replay review with less than 2 minutes left where UCLA looked like they hit the ball out of bounds, although you could argue that the player slapped Sky Clark's arm or hands. So maybe that was a one call one way. And then UCLA, man, can they just not choke? Can they just not just absolutely blow it? I mean, they made 75% of their free throws, but missing them in the worst possible spot and then turning it over at least like 5 times in the final minute of the game. Like, what are they doing? What is UCLA doing? That was a game I was going to come out here and be like, Aday Mara, they got the swagger back, but no, they had to make it entertaining. Northwestern went on a run. The broadcast would be like, oh, this is the dichotomy of their season. They are down and they were out and they had a chance to come back. They've been counted out since they had 2 players out. And, then they got a bailout call. But let's be real. Let's be honest here. UCLA deserved this win more than Northwestern. They played better for more of the game. And I'm sorry, Northwestern. I know they blew the call. UCLA fans, we're not the one that Nicholson got smacked in the face. They clearly fouled Martinelli on the way to the hoop, and they swallowed the whistles, which sometimes they do. You're not going to get the call. We've seen UCLA maybe not get that call. But in the end, UCLA played much better. They led this game for 28 minutes. They led it for 28 minutes. Now, the lead changed 14 times. The game was tied 7, so it was tight throughout. But the Bruins had pulled away and enough of a cushion that they found a way to win it 73-69. So as much as the final minute might have scared us, because we've seen this before against North Carolina. We saw this just a couple weeks ago against Minnesota. And in this case, it's not Mick Cronin's fault if they would have choked it. That would have been all the players. Would have been all the players if they had blown this. Absolutely. But if you look at UCLA's numbers, they made 5 of their last 6 field goals. The problem was, for a UCLA team that shot well down the stretch, they didn't take a field goal. They didn't make a field goal the last 3 minutes. So UCLA made 80% of their last 6 field goals, meaning they made a lot of them. But they didn't make one for the last 3 minutes, which meant they couldn't get to the line because they turned it over, or they choked at the line and only made like one clutch free throw before they finally ended the game because UCLA survived a foul call, and then they called a flagrant foul on the other end where Daly Jr. is able to make a couple of free throws. They got the ball, made some buckets, and then Northwestern got a couple of late points from Martinelli. I mean, that was a bonkers stretch where if you want to go over the bulk part of this, UCLA has they found their swagger back, I think, for 38 minutes. If you watch 38 minutes of this game, you're like, UCLA found their swagger back. Bilodeau was sitting there with 19 points after a long stretch on the bench, a couple of boards. Aday Mara, it seemed like he unlocked a new gear in this game. He truly did. 11 points, 10 rebounds with 3 blocks in 16 minutes. That's not going to add to the 6-0 record UCLA has when he plays 20 or more minutes. But when he was forced to play a long stretch when UCLA trailed and Bilodeau went to the bench, I don't know what you thought, but I was like, and the broadcast was talking about how Northwestern was talking a little trash with Bilodeau going to the bench. They were. And I was like, you're going to lose because the Bruins are going to bring out their best player and they're going to go on a run. And Mara played well, making fantastic plays, keeping his feet without traveling, hopping on one, dunking, getting rebounds, passing little one-hand wraparound dimes only for him to miss. And he's like, you don't get this rebound and dunk it in your face. And one's drawing fouls. Aday Mara is just begging for more time on the court. Begging. You know, you almost wonder, yes, you're up 14. You don't want to put Mara in that situation. Maybe you put him in there. You just put him as a tall player. So you put him in to inbound or you put him in to catch the ball and you throw it across the court because he's got such great vision. You throw it down the court and quit in a full court pressure, throwing it into the corner and just turning into the trap. Like, what are they doing? What are they doing right there? Carlin's probably just like, we've worked on this a million times. I don't know why we're forgetting what we're doing. But large in part, in the earlier episode I posted for Locked On UCLA today, on this day that UCLA beat Northwestern, I talked about this already. UCLA, when they play well, doesn't turn the ball over for the majority of the game, which is true for the first 38 minutes. I think this is what Connor Onion said, the broadcaster of the game today. He's like, UCLA hasn't turned it over. They proceeded to turn it over like 4 straight times, and then Northwestern came back. Because until they had, he's like, they're under 10. Turned it over 4 straight times. I'm not joking. UCLA, before they missed free throws, limited opportunities, but they converted. I talked about how UCLA with Aday Mara had more physical presence. They weren't losing as badly in the rebounding. Today, utter dominance when it came to rebounding. Overall assists in the game, UCLA had 19 assists on 27 made field goals. They were sharing the basketball and passing it around, and second chance points was dominated by UCLA, 17-5. 13 offensive rebounds because of Aday Mara. You've seen plays by the likes of Kobe Johnson, who didn't shoot the ball well, score a lot, but 7 boards, 3 assists, which is ripping the ball from the Wildcat players. So yes, you can point to this game could have been going to overtime. But if you really looked at the grand scheme of things, this game was won by UCLA prior, and they got a call. There were some plays where I thought UCLA got hosed when they had William Kyle III and Aday Mara at the same time. Mick Cronin was getting funky with it, man. He was getting funky with it. I was like, William Kyle III minutes with Aday Mara in the game? No. I've only begged for one of those guys in at the same time. No way they put both of them. And I really liked it. UCLA didn't necessarily play well because the guards weren't rotating well enough over to contest the 3, but I liked the minutes. That's when they got a lot of offensive rebounds, and the rebounding looked great. Kyle was boxing out. That led Mara get his length to get a couple more boards. I wish UCLA might try that a little more against an undersized Northwestern team. Oh, well, they went for it. It was fun. But Nicholson, I'm sorry, whether it's you or Martinell or Fitzmore, whoever's talking trash to Bilodeau going to the bench saying, you're going to the bench. Sorry, UCLA's best player was coming off, and their most dominant, assertive force that led UCLA to part of their 7-game winning streak was Aday Mara. And he looked, in 16 minutes, he posted a double-double and 3 blocks and single-handedly changed the game. Single-handedly. Now, he had nothing to do with the near choke. And, I told this during the Minnesota game, I'm going to believe again, and they're going to break your heart. And I was close to they figured it out. They're going to go beat SC. They're going to go on the run in the Big Ten tournament. They're going to figure it out. But the problem is they're going to do this, and they're going to break our heart in the Big Ten tournament. They're going to break our heart in the NCAA tournament. They're just going to do something like this where it's like a 14-point win should be an 8-point win at minimum with 2 minutes left. At minimum. Like, why are you just getting the ball stripped? Like, they got an offensive rebound up 10, and next thing you know, they're up 2. What? There's so much good in this game to talk about that they still have to find a way for Northwestern to come back. UCLA didn't play horribly, but 12 turnovers led to 19 points off turnovers for Northwestern. That's absurd. That is absurd. They would turn and convert those turnovers into buckets in the last 2 minutes. They converted to the Wildcats, and then they turned it into immediate points in a near devastating choke from UCLA. I think grand scheme of things, UCLA figured some swagger out. They survived. Cronin was going to be as giddy as possible in the postgame. Now, I'm not so sure. He's probably breathing a sigh of relief. You probably understand why Cronin goes so berserk over his players. You're like, dude, we had this game won. Why are we choking? They played so well to take Northwestern out of it. A team that's already playing without two of their three best scorers who are out for the season. Why not just knock them out? Get the knockout blow on their senior day. Well, they don't like to make things easy. UCLA does not like to make things easy for us. Whether you're viewing this at the game, watching it, listening, watching this podcast, they don't like to do so. So as much as Ty Berry scored like 14 points in the final 2 minutes and a half, Martinelli was doing a lot early. I thought we saw some good things from Clark. 7 assists before 2 late turnovers. Bilodeau came off the bench, frustrated, hit some early buckets in the second half, and had a great return to the game after he sat in foul trouble. Daly Jr. stroked it from the field, had 6 rebounds, good quality 24 minutes. Dylan Andrews had 4 turnovers, some of those late, missed the front end of a 1-and-1, didn't hit his threes, and now the cries for his starting position are getting louder and louder and louder. Kobe Johnson, you don't think he impacted the game if you look at the stats, but if you watch the game, he was clearly a presence defensively, rebounding, made a nice clutch bucket to put UCLA up 10 with the shot clock winding down late. He was huge, and I can see why Cronin thinks he's his favorite player. Sebastian Mack, I thought, would have a bigger impact. 5 points, 5 boards. Not so much. Stefanovic, a much more efficient day. We even saw some Trent Perry minutes when the Bruins were late in the game, and Cronin put in a true freshman who we'd probably expect to make free throws. Well, the Bruins couldn't get the ball past their own free throw line. Their own backcourt past the free throw line without turning it over 5 times. Oh. The title of this episode is going to be like, Aday Mara and UCLA just flexed their muscle or something on Northwestern, right? The cats squeal and they go quietly into the night. There's going to be something like that. But no, I have to wait an extra 15 minutes to watch those final 30 seconds of play out, only for UCLA to get bailed out by a call. Maybe 1, maybe 2 calls there. But I think why I don't feel so bad about this is because UCLA played so much better. All right, Northwestern played their hearts out. They didn't deserve this win. Like, UCLA dominated, and when Northwestern talked a little trash about a certain situation, it was like, all right, well, UCLA is only getting better with Bilodeau going to the bench. That's what's so funny about this. They talk trash, and UCLA was like, you're about to get punked in school by Aday Mara, right? Which is why Cronin should find ways to play him more than 20 minutes. Now, he played a long stretch in the second half. I think it was played perfectly until the 2-minute mark of this game. Until the final 2 minutes, UCLA played it perfectly. Lucked out by some foul situation with Mata coming in and Cronin having his hand forced. Man, it's so close to it looking like it's supposed to. It is supposed to look like this. Yeah, I want them to make a couple more threes. But it's so close to, okay, they played 38 minutes. They lead for like 30, and they almost choke it. I don't know what I would have done if they had lost this game, let alone got to overtime, which it, by video replay, looked like it should have. But, man, overall, UCLA deserved this game and played much better. But I'm not going to go without acknowledging the fact that Daly reached in. He's not the best defender to have late in those game situations or the driving guard. UCLA survived. I mean, I don't know what to say. Why do they like to do this to us? They do. But the Bruins got the win. They're 21-9. They remain at play for a top 4 seed. Not going to happen. They're unlikely that everything happens that they need to have happen by help from the other teams to get UCLA a top 4 seed. Not going to happen. We just hope they beat SC. This was a quad 1 win against Northwestern, a quad 1 win. Analytically, Northwestern had won 3 in a row. They figured things out with some of their players coming off the bench and playing really well. But the Bruins, man, oh man, they got to figure out those late game scenarios, or they're going to crush your heart in the Big Ten tournament. And more importantly, they're going to crush your heart when they figure it out in the NCAA tournament and the last 2 minutes. Can Mick Cronin and UCLA figure it out? I do. I truly do believe they can figure out those 2-minute scenarios. But boy, they have too much of a bad feeling considering it's happened almost 3 times this year where they've nearly choked away a game. I'd rather UCLA be down 10 with a minute left because then they'll do exactly what Northwestern did. Turnover, 3. They'll make all their free throws. They're up 10. The scariest thing to watch a game as a UCLA fan this year has been them being up 10 with like 90 seconds left. That's the scariest thing. UCLA with the lead in the basketball shooting free throws is scarier to watch than them being down big, right? Like, it blows my mind. It blows their mind. But Aday Mara is great. Bill came back. Clark played a very strong, good portion of this game. But Mara is the story. He demands, he commands respect, attention, and a lot more playing time than he's gotten. And even though sometimes Cronin's a little frustrated with how he moves, the 3 blocks, the sheer confidence and muscle he showed to go through a double team, find an open player, get the rebound, and dunk it in their face was the biggest, like, let's go, bleepity bleep you, let's go Bruins, and UCLA got the job done. That's what we should take away from this game, not the 2 minutes. The 2 minutes, we've seen the 2-minute drill where the Bruins have failed at before. What we should take away is Aday Mara, I believe, has unlocked another weapon where not only is he like, we know he's good, he knows, he's starting to realize, if he didn't already, he's a baller and he's strong enough. Not that he's finesse, but he's got the muscle to do it too. Not every time can he bully a player out of the way, but in this case, and more often than not, he's got places and a chance to get a double-double in 15 minutes. No player generally just comes out and just gets a double-double in the blink of an eye and impacts a game like Mara did in that short span in the second half. And UCLA kept it up when they took him out and they gave him a breather. I am totally okay with that. They literally called it on the broadcast. Like, yeah, we might not see Mara again. We didn't. And if we didn't, we certainly were going to see him in overtime. And I think UCLA probably could have pulled it out with Mara coming back in for overtime. Like, I think that's what would have happened. Put him in for the jump. UCLA wins this game by 8 in overtime. Didn't happen because UCLA won 73-69. But in alternate reality, we laugh about it if they choked it to get to overtime. But they didn't. Okay. Sorry, Northwestern. Until they go on a run in the Big Ten tournament or something, appreciate their fight. But the Bruins held up their end of the bargain. They make it tough. They truly, truly do. Oh, so frustrating. Like, we're going to age 80 years this March because we think this team can do it, or you're not going to believe it, and then you're going to believe, and they're going to break your heart, or they're going to do it as well as they can, and they get on a run. Who knows? It's ridiculous. But they're figuring things out while also crushing your soul at the same time. That's what makes it so tough to watch. That's what makes it so tough to watch. All right. Man, oh man. All right, let's talk to you about FanDuel, right? When the game tips off, NBA action is just getting started. Maybe there's college basketball action. There's no better place to get in on it than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place those live bets throughout the game. So if you miss the opening tip-off, you can see those late-game comebacks like we almost saw happen against UCLA. Those backdoor covers, well, man, Northwestern was really pushing hard to get that game to overtime. Whether it was a good beat, bad beat, everything, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay and been sweating it out for very different reasons with FanDuel or just for sheer fandom. And if you won, you get your bets and your money and your live bets paid out instantly. The app is super easy to use. New FanDuel customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. That's going to do it. You know, I can rant for as long as possible about a 2-minute near choke job. I can go on and on about how happy I was to see Aday Mara play as well as he did and how the Bruins responded. But that's why we got to come back for more Locked On UCLA, and we talk about it in depth. We let the emotions calm down. I'm excited. I'm mad. I'm sad. I got so many emotions that go through here. Let them all out in the comment section. Just let it out. Keep it clean, but let it out. And then we flush it away. And remember, what'd you get? A W. UCLA got the win. That is the most important thing. Now, if we want to discuss how they can do better in the 2-minute scenario, how they can make free throws, how Aday Mara should be playing 20 minutes. We'll talk about all those things. So come back to more Locked On UCLA content. Like, comment, subscribe, download those episodes, because we're going to talk about it leading into the final regular season game for UCLA. Again, their second quad one win on the road outside of the western part of the United States, right? Outside the Mountain Time Zone, outside the Pacific Time Zone, UCLA notched another quad one win against a scrappy Northwestern team. That is the main story. Got a little dicey there late, a little dice like the tomatoes, but the Bruins, hey, no tomato. It's let's go. And let's get it with an 8 clap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA, fight. And boy, did they make us fight, not to just bite down and clench our fists, but they got the job done. That's going to do it for us with Locked On UCLA. I can rant on. For an endless amount of time about this game, and that we're going to just leave it there. All right. That's been Locked On UCLA. I'm Zach signing off. Go Bruins.